So with our altitude, when we're given the altitude plus both pieces of our hypotenuse for the larger triangle, we have what we call the heartbeat method. Okay, and as you can see, we've got that proportion up here. Left over altitude equals altitude over right. And the way we draw that, okay, we've got four different pieces, but we start over here on the left, we trace our left side, we go up our altitude, down our altitude, and to the right for piece 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so that is going to be our heartbeat method. We call it the heartbeat because it looks kind of like a heartbeat monitor. So we're going to go across, up, down, and across. Sometimes you'll be going, based on the orientation, we'll change it up. But essentially, that's how we're going to write all of our fractions. And it makes, for these questions, to be pretty simple to solve for. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to trace, starting from the left, go across, across, up, down, and across. So I trace that. I go 8 over 12 equals 12 over x. And this piece right here is what makes it a geometric mean. Being multiplying right here by the same number is where we get that phrase from. And so essentially all we're going to do is we're going to cross multiply at this point. 8x equals, and I know that 12 times 12 is going to be 144. 12 times 12 equals 144. And once I have that, I can divide both sides by 8 to get x by itself. And x is going to equal 18. So once we get used to the altitude method, setting up these proportions isn't terribly hard. There are a couple where it's a little bit more difficult, but we can make it work. So let's get into our next one. We're going to go across, down, up, and across. Let's redo that just so that we don't cover up our altitude. So we have x over 8 equals 8 over x. We're essentially using our altitude twice. We can see that up here in our formula. Okay, we're going to use our altitude twice, and that's not x, excuse me. That should be 4. Once I have that, I cross multiply. 4x equals 8 times 8, 64. I can also use 8 squared to get 64. And then once I have that, I can divide both sides by 4 to get x by itself. And x is going to equal 16. Okay, let's take a look at this one. We've got 9 over x equals x over 4. 9 over x equals x over 4. This one's a little bit trickier, nothing too crazy, but it is a little bit trickier because we have x squared. Okay, fortunately, 9 times 4 equals 36. And in order to get rid of that square, because I want x by itself, I need to do the inverse operation. So the inverse operation of squaring number is taking the square root. And if I do it to one side, I do it to the other. So that leaves me with x on the left side by itself. Second square gives me that square root symbol in my calculator, 36. X equals 6. Okay. And as you can see, they're not crazy problems. Okay. We can do all of these. On the right-hand side, same thing. Across, up, down, across. So 6 over x equals x over 6. We've got another situation where we're going to end up with an x squared equaling 6 times 6 is 36 again. So we've already done this, so we should know that x squared, not 32, square root of 36 equals 6. And then down here, across, down, up, across, x over 4 equals 4 over 12. We're going to cross multiply. 12x equals 4 times 4 is 16. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 12 to get x by itself. X equals 16 divided by 12. That's 1.3 repeating, or x equals, I can hit math, enter, math frac, to put that answer in a fraction. We get 4 over 3. Either of those would be acceptable.